What is going on, everybody? This is V3Cast, episode 9. What's happening, Aaron? What's happening, Greg?
What's up, man? Let's do it.
Yes,
Nothing.
indeed.
Let's get into it.
We're getting into it. Hey, this is a cool one that I kind of saw online over the weekend, and I knew I had to mention it for our next podcast. But Kurt Russell celebrated his 71st birthday back on March 17th. Man, he is so awesome. He's been in so many good films. I can't even count all of them. It's impossible.
Is he a new actor? Is that somebody new? Never heard of him.
He's fresh on the scene, making waves.
Just a young, fresh Hollywood actor making his moves.
So I started thinking about all the films that I love that he's been in. And, okay, Death Proof, Escape from New York, The Thing, Tombstone. It's ridiculous. That was just taking a second. Yeah. Tango and Cash.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Freaking Hateful Eight.
So after I was thinking about that, I thought, well, what's your top Kurt Russell film, or top 3? What do you got?
Man, I didn't see top 3 in there, but I'll tell you what. When you sent this question, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, everybody's going to talk about the obvious ones. So I'm gonna talk about one that I love from when I was a kid, and it's Used Cars. Do you guys remember this movie?
Just by the title only, I don't think I ever saw it.
Okay, so this is one of those cable movies where you would take the box. My parents never had the pay channels, right? So if you wanted to watch Used Cars, you had to take the box and do the tune buttons. You know that trick I'm talking about, where you could sort of get it in.
Oh, yeah.
It would be all scrambled.
Totally.
Are you guys too young for that? Am I showing my age here?
We had a different one where we had a certain length of a cable, and somehow my dad knew the right length to make it, because then it would pick up the frequency. I'll have to ask him for a refresher on that, but we did something similar like that.
Well, Used Cars was a comedy, obviously, and it was definitely R-rated. So, when I was a kid, I was busy trying to tune it in. But one of my favorite Kurt Russell movies is Used Cars. So I was going to do one that nobody expected.
Right. I'm going to have to see if that's on Tubi.
Yeah, it's a good one. You'll like it. I promise.
Cool. I trust you, man. How about you, Aaron?
Well, mine are more obvious for sure. I couldn't help it. Escape from New York. That's one of the earliest movies I remember seeing as a kid, as far as dystopian post-apocalyptic movies, other than Mad Max. It was one of the first ones I saw. So yeah, I love that movie. As a kid, when you're watching a movie like that, it's so creepy and weird and scary. You don't understand what's going on. You just know it looks cool.
Right.
With the eye patch and everything, and the black boots and all that. But then as you get older, you watch it obviously many times, and I loved it. So yeah, Escape from New York, Tombstone. I loved his performance in that. It's sort of he had this growly kind of drawl, almost like a John Wayne kind of thing. But then I kind of noticed that he does that in other movies too. So maybe that wasn't him channeling John Wayne. But anyway, I love Tombstone, and of course that movie, features so many great actors, but it still focuses on Wyatt Earp. And then a more recent one, Hateful Eight. Yeah, I love that. Also another ensemble piece. He's playing a really different character in that one, an important character. And when the movie unfolds, you just can't believe your eyes the way everything happens. You don't see any of it coming, because it's Tarantino. You never know where it's going to go.
Right.
So I love his performance in that movie. I love that movie, and I love the part where he bashes the guitar, and then there's that little behind the scenes thing where when Jennifer Jason Leigh's playing the guitar, he comes and grabs it from her and bashes it and destroys it. They were supposed to cut, because that guitar was some real antique, really expensive collectors. I don't know. Somebody used to own it. I forgot who. And he forgot that they were supposed to cut. So he grabbed it, destroyed it, and her reaction is real when she's like, and I think she might even look off camera towards Tarantino, but maybe they cut before she does that or something, or maybe you can't tell what she's looking at anyway as a viewer. But yeah, that's a great little scene there.
I'm going to rewatch that knowing that now. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a genuine reaction from her.
Yeah. See, a good director does whatever it takes, although I don't think he planned that, but still.
No, I don't think so.
That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've only seen Hateful Eight one time, and I love it, but I definitely need to watch it again because it's very layered and a whole lot of stuff happening for sure.
What about Bone Tomahawk? Did you guys see that one?
I never did.
I wanted to see it. I've wanted to see it for years, and for some dumb reason, I haven't seen it. Have you?
Yeah, I watched it. So I won't say too much about it since you haven't seen it. I thought it was good. I mean, it's definitely, story-wise, I think it's probably not the greatest, but it's cool. It's got Kurt Russell in it.
Yeah. Right.
You know how I am about these movies, Aaron.
Right.
That's right. He's more loose nowadays.
I'll let it go. Man, I'm watching one right now based on Brad Henderson's recommendation, this Doom Asylum. Have you guys watched this?
No.
Holy cow, man. Shout out to Brad Henderson. Doom Asylum is awesome. I don't get to watch a whole movie all at once because I have kids, so I'm only about 50 minutes in, and I just can't believe how much more there is because I'm like, how much more can really happen? But it's a good one. Does not have Kurt Russell though.
All right.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi, so
nice.
Free to watch.
I love Tubi. That's great. I have a couple. They're fairly obvious as well. My number one has to be Tombstone because it's just legendary. Everybody's performance in that film just rewrote the book on characters and camaraderie and just great storytelling. And there's even a cool, a few of the actors have said this. So George Cosmatos, of course, who directed the film, they brought him in kind of as it was already going because whoever was the original director, I guess he just wasn't able to do it or they didn't like his performance or whatever the case may be. So they fired that director, and you can Google it and find out who that was. I just don't know by heart who it is. So then they brought in George, and, a movie of that magnitude and that size and all that detail, I think anybody would have a little trouble, handling that, especially not having it from the start. So what kind of the rumor or what some of the actors have said over the years in interviews is that Kurt Russell took a huge step or a big role in helping George Cosmatos direct that a little bit. I'm not saying he directed it, but he helped out a lot. He helped organize scenes and kind of worked with George to kind of help get this film done. So he had a really heavy hand in helping with that whole thing. Plus his performance is just off the chain. So, double kudos to Kurt Russell for helping Tombstone be as good as it is besides just his role.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then my other one, it's hard to pick, man, because just like what Aaron said, is Escape from New York absolutely fantastic? Yes, it is. But I'm going to go with The Thing, I think, because that one has a lot of subtleties to it that maybe some of the other ones he's done don't. Not that that's good or bad. It doesn't matter. He's been in so many good movies, but I like The Thing in particular. It just has a lot of vibe to it. Kind of the stuff where you have to watch it 4, 5, 6 times and you keep getting new nuances of things. And his character really had a lot of that. So I'm picking The Thing for my...
Awesome.
We've come to the part of the show where we ask, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I was quick on the draw here.
That's right.
Modello.
That's right. Old standby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad you don't have the bottle version, though. I like the bottle version better.
I want them to do something about the foil, man. Make it easier to handle. I'm going to write a letter to Modello and say, hey, make the foil peel away clean.
Yeah.
When I open the bottle, it's just, it's there for the show, but it doesn't stick around for the whole, encore.
That's right. Yeah, we talked about that before. When you're drinking a beer, you don't want to have foil in your lips and your gums when you're drinking. It's not fun.
No, it's not. conducive to a good time. Foil in the mouth.
No, it's not good.
Looks good though.
It
Yes,
looks great.
It's very flashy and looks good on Instagram. All right, Greg, what do you got, man?
Drinking a beer by Dogfish Head called Slightly Mighty. And it's a
slightly
Slightly
mighty.
Mighty.
Okay,
Low cal IPA.
dig it. Is that a Michigan one or no?
No, Dogfish Head is out of state, and they make a lot of beers. But so I've tried a couple of light IPAs because one thing about IPAs, a lot of calories.
Oh yeah,
300 and like a double IPA has like 300 calories. So, anyways, this is 95.
Oh man, that's a lot less. That's great.
Yeah, I know. So I've been trying to find one, and I tried the Bell's Lighthearted. That was okay, but this one's better. I'm also drinking it out of a Kunin glass.
Nice.
Kunin Brewing.
I decided to do something different because I think, didn't I get made fun of for drinking the White Monster just a few too many times in the podcast?
Like every podcast.
I mean,
like I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I respect your right to drink any kind of monster you want to drink.
Right.
But that one was coming up a lot.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so tasty. Okay, but so
It'd be
this
funny
one,
if Steve is like, I'm drinking White Monster.
yeah.
Like after all that build up.
I tried to divert your attention to the other trick, but really there is no trick.
Exactly.
No, so I made myself a fresh, delicious Bloody Mary.
Virgin Bloody Mary.
My version of a Bloody Mary. With the Zing Zangs, isn't that what it's called? Mix with some extra Tabasco and that little seasoning that's like kind of made for margaritas, but it's great in this, and some ice, and it's delicious. Cheers!
Awesome, hell yeah!
Yeah, we've been on a big Bloody Mary
that's
kick
spicy.
since that LA trip.
I know.
What is it about tomato juice and airplanes? There's something weird there, some psychological thing, because you get on an airplane and you crave tomato juice. I don't know why.
Every time I'm on a flight, I get a can of the Mr. and Mrs. T Bloody Mary mix every time.
Really?
I'm telling you, people get mad if they don't have it. I think one of the airlines tried to get rid of it. People got pissed
Oh,
they didn't have
can't do that.
tomato juice on a flight.
Yeah.
Weird.
Same thing with Canada Dry. People make a really big deal about Canada Dry ginger ale. Don't get rid of it. You got to have it.
Canada Dry is damn good.
It is, man. If you can't get ginger beer, that's the next best thing, in my opinion.
Wait a minute. Werner's, then Canada Dry. Come on, Steve.
No, I love Werner's. Okay. But nobody carries Werner's though, like on flights or like at places. And with a few exceptions around Michigan, of course. But most of the time, it's going to be Canada Dry or something else like that, but not Werner's. I think it's too nichey for like a big chain to say, well, we're going to carry Werner's. You never see it.
I was going to say, the people watching this might be going, what the hell are they talking about? What is Werner's? Because
it's only the best ginger ale out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it stretches far beyond Michigan, really. I don't think a lot of
regional.
People have heard of it.
Yeah, kind of like Fago. Some people won't know what Fago is either. Some, depending where you're listening from.
Right.
I was going to say, when I met Scott Ian, I was backstage and they had a whole cooler full of every kind of soft drink, and imagine backstage with Anthrax, they have everything you could ever want, right? So in that cooler they had Werner's, and he picks it up and he's like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, well, it's a ginger soda. It's a ginger soda from, it's kind of like a thing here in Detroit. You should try it. It's really good. We love it here. A lot of people drink it when they're sick, but I actually think it's good when you're not sick. So he opened it up. He took one sip and he's like, nah. And he set it down. He was not having it. And so like I said, depending on where people are listening to us from, Werner's may be foreign to them. And
right.
There's a pretty good chance that they'd try it and not like it either. So.
Yeah, or maybe you have to try it a couple times, because the first time would be so weird, you kind of, hard to wrap your head around it. But then the second time you have it, you'd be like, oh, this is not bad. So yeah,
I think
we're going to school our non-Michigan or non-native Michigan listeners, there's two beverages that are made right here in Michigan. Both of them happen to be on Gratiot Avenue in Detroit. And one of them is Verner's. Then the second one is Faygo. That is a whole line of carbonated sodas or pop, like we say in Michigan. But they have like a cola, they have red pop, they have orange, they have cream soda. I mean, they have a ton of flavors. And ICP, Insane Clown Posse, helped kind of put Faygo, nationally, internationally on the map back in the 90s because they have it at their shows and they smash 2 liters on the stage and all kinds of crazy fun like that. But I will share with you a secret recipe that I made up. Aaron, I think you know what I'm about to say, right? It's my favorite Faygo.
Yeah.
My favorite Faygo combo. I don't know why they don't just make it because they obviously have the product. So, but you have to do it yourself. So what I do on a hot summer day, I go to the store and I get orange Faygo and cream soda Faygo. And then when I go home, I get a nice tall glass of ice and I do 50-50. And there's your Faygo creamsicle. It's so good. Try it. You won't be disappointed. I promise you.
I believe you've given me some of that before, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's
I'm surprised
so good.
Faygo hasn't combined them on some special, limited run or something. But
Yeah, like around the 4th of July or Labor Day or whatever excuse. It doesn't even matter.
Plus, the thing about Faygo was that it was like a knockoff cola, right? It was like cheaper, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like how Town
at least
Club.
when I was growing up, yeah.
Yeah, it
For
was
sure.
a lot cheaper than regular, like Coke and all that.
Plus all the variety of the flavors, made it cool. We're going to cover a little bit of news, some Voyager 3 news. We kind of really have 2 major conventions coming up that we're going to be a part of. The first one, and we're really looking forward to it, is Astronomicon. It's the 5th one that is happening April 22nd through 24th at Burton Manor in Livonia, Michigan. And check it out. Here's just some of the people that they have at Astronomicon. Corey Taylor, who's a singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour. They got Judge Reinhold's going to be there, and you know how many movies he's been in. You can't even count that high.
Beverly Hills Cop. Come on.
Yeah, I know, and so many others, man.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
One of my favorites with the pirate captain hat, delivering the fish and chips, if you remember.
Yes, I do.
Nick Castle, who was the original Shape, Halloween, Michael Myers. Bill Moseley, who Chop Top and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He's been in a lot of the recent Rob Zombie films and just a whole bunch of stuff. You can look him up on his IMDb. Then they have a wrestling contingent that consists of Kevin Nash, X-Pac, and the Steiner brothers. We also have to take this time to mention rest in peace to Scott Hall, who just passed away last week. He was actually supposed to be at Astronomicon as well. But we got that news and we were very saddened for that. I mean, Aaron, how many pay-per-views and WrestleManias and everything did we see him on back in the late 90s, early 2000s, man? Holy moly.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. And especially when I got back into wrestling, he was coming back with Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. They were doing the NWO invasion of WWE this time instead of, WCW. And
that's when I came back into it, matter of fact. Yeah,
same here. So I had to kind of work my way back and I knew him from before that, but I wasn't watching wrestling as much. So I missed his prime, but I caught up with that stuff. And he was great. I mean, got probably the deepest voice I've ever heard. And all 3 of us have deep fucking voices, but that guy takes the cake, man. Yeah. And he was just such a charismatic dude. And he was one of the first people to make the heel loved. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't the first, of course, but well,
like him and Roddy Piper were very excellent at doing that, for sure.
For sure. And people just really dug him and didn't care that he was a bad guy. And so he was great. And so that's, he's gone like so many other wrestlers, gone before they even have a chance to get old. It's just the way they live in that business. They live hard. They push themselves beyond what any normal person would do. And that stuff takes a toll. So
yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Peace.
That's right. So, yeah, we're very much looking forward to that convention for sure. There's going to be a lot of cool vendors and other guests. The guest list is really long. I just rattled off a few. Tickets are on sale for that. So we're going to be there all weekend long. We have a table, a booth kind of set up where we're going to have all of our merch, the New York Ninja, cassette, CD, and vinyl, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So come on by, have a great time, say hi, get something signed, pick up something, and have a blast. That's astronomicon.com for tickets. The other convention that we're super looking forward to is Motor City Nightmares, and that's happening July 29th through the 31st at the Sheraton Novi Detroit. And this one is shaping up to be off the hook. Just before last weekend, I saw that they have Ken Forey, Galen Ross, and Scott Reiniger. So that is a Dawn of the Dead reunion waiting to happen right there. I'm sure they're going to have a panel or two on that. So I'm going to bring my Blu-ray and probably my soundtrack and scoop up their autographs for sure. And hopefully they'll have some cool stories to tell. And
hopefully they come to the after party.
I know, because at Motor City Nightmares, we're actually playing live at the Saturday night after party, which is July 30th. So tickets are on sale for that now too at motorcitynightmares.com. It's going to be a great, great convention. Then the last piece of news that we have is the Voyager 3 store.com is still doing the free U.S. shipping for any order over $35, and that is for the remainder of March. You don't have to have a coupon code or anything. If your order is above $35 and you live in the contiguous 48 states, shipping will automatically be reduced to $0. So pick up something fun. Mailbag.
Just a quick mailbag from Blog Jammer. He mentioned a game called Zombicide, and they have a version of it that's based on Night of the Living Dead, which sounds cool. So if we can get that or find that, that would be awesome. We could play that one. Also, he mentioned, speaking of Night of the Living Dead, he mentioned that we should do a soundtrack for it, do our own soundtrack, because the copyrights were never done right back when Romero made the movie in '68. So it's like a free reign movie. Anybody can do a soundtrack to it if they want to. So that's something we could toy around with the idea. Maybe one day we'll do that. So thank you, Blog Jammer.
Yeah. And I checked out that game when he mentioned it, and it does look amazing. So I'm going to try to see if I can find that too. And I have a shout out to Galaxy of Film podcast. They reached out to us just via email and asked if we wanted to be on one of their podcasts. And so we said, sure. And we did one, all three of us did one where we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett series. So we went through episode by episode and kind of talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, and any other anecdotes we had about that. And it was a lot of fun. And then they had Aaron on just last week talking about The Batman, which everybody's been talking about how really excellent that movie is.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great, dark Batman movie. Robert Pattinson was great. The suit was great. The car, the Batmobile was awesome. Great chase scene. Paul Dano as the Riddler was amazing. And Colin Farrell, totally unrecognizable as Penguin, he was a show stealer. Everybody was awesome in the movie, and I would put it up there. I'm not going to compare it to the whole Nolan trilogy. That's not fair. That's a whole trilogy. So if I compared it to Batman Begins, I'd say they're just about equal. Maybe I have to see the Batman again to really know where it's gonna fall and all that. But it was an amazing movie, and just awesome, faithful adaptation version of Batman. It was really cool. And luckily, Greg, There's no origin story part of it. There's no flashbacks to the parents dying and all that stuff. It just picks up in like the second year of his crusade and goes from there. So it was awesome.
Well, that I like.
I'm glad to hear that for sure.
Were you able to make out the things on screen, or was it just like a black screen the whole time with like a bunch of rain?
It was appropriately dark. Oh, and it did rain for the whole movie. The whole movie. It was great. That was beautiful. This is one of the best parts. But it was super dark, and you can't make any comic book movie Batman dark. It's not appropriate for everything, but this was perfect. It was awesome.
And the score is amazing, as we talked about before in the last episode. And I just got an email too that Mondo is putting out the whole score on a 3 LP set. So if you're a vinyl person and a Batman person, there you go.
There you go. The score was awesome.
Mondo's packaging is top notch, so you won't find any better.
That's right. Absolutely right. Shout out to Galaxy of Film Podcast for having us on a couple of their shows. We had a great time.
Yep.
I came up with a cool challenge for you guys. List your top 3 heroes in a film and maybe why, or some detail as to why you chose it, and your top 3 villains in any film and why. My magical 20-sided die says that Greg goes first.
All right, so I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not doing heroes because I know Aaron's doing heroes, and there's no need
Aaron
for
does
me.
love a good hero. I know that to be a fact.
He does. So by default, I'll say my favorite hero is John Liu in New York.
Man, that's a good answer, man.
Plug.
Man, doesn't get better than that.
So I focused on villains because that's my wheelhouse. So I'm going to start with one that's surprisingly appropriate. Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Solid pick.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
It's the perfect movie to go watch if you haven't seen it. Probably not what most people would consider to be the best Rocky movie, but I think it's my favorite. Although I do love the original, obviously. But he's just so giant compared to Sylvester Stallone, and he doesn't talk a lot. And, when he kills Apollo Creed, I'm just like, this is like the worst bastard, and you just can't wait for him to put him in his place at the end. So when I was growing up, he was one of the worst villains for me. I did not like him at all. Yeah. And I was glad to see him get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
The next one I'm going to go even more obscure, and it's another Sylvester Stallone movie. All right, the movie's Cobra, and the villain is the Night Slasher, played by Brian Thompson.
Nice.
So this is another one of those 80s movies that I watched, and I was like, man, they found the perfect guy to be a villain, because he just looks like he can't be a good person in real life. Kind of like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. You just don't think there's anything redeemable about him. But this guy's got like the real chiseled, weird features, and I don't know, man. He's just a crazy, awesome bad guy, and I'm surprised he didn't get more work as a bad guy, to be honest. After that, but
he's in some stuff. He was in X-Files and stuff. He's done some stuff.
Was he a bad guy though?
Oh yeah. He was an alien.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an alien.
Dig it.
All right. Well, anyways, that's my second pick. The last one will be no surprise to anyone. Shot in 1975, created the summer blockbuster.
Jaws.
Scared a million little kids, including myself.
I had a feeling you'd pick the shark from Jaws.
Yeah, another solid pick.
It's my favorite movie ever made.
Terrified an entire generation of people.
That's right.
Kids, adults.
And kept them out of the water.
Yeah.
And unfortunately gave sharks a bad rap.
It did. It really did. But, I mean, it was effective. All right, I'll go. So, yes, I do love the heroes. And some of my choices are kind of obvious, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Luke Skywalker. He's got the ultimate story arc, to go from being a kid, just complaining about being held back by his uncle, to being an impatient student and wanting to go and help his friends and kind of screwing up his whole training, and then seeing where that got him and where that got his friends. They all get their asses beat in part 2, and then by the time we see him in part 3, and he's got the all black on, and he's calm, and he's got his self together. He's got his skills going on. It's just, he's the ultimate straight-laced good guy. You don't get the cool cynicism of Han Solo, which is also awesome. He goes through the biggest character arc, in the whole trilogy, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
I also have Bruce Lee's character from Enter the Dragon, who's named Lee, who's basically the quintessential Bruce Lee character. I mean, he plays a lot of characters who are kind of similar and in range. They're all just kind of versions of him. And I consider Bruce Lee to be the ultimate action star, the ultimate, he just was like a real life kind of superhero on screen. And so, I love Enter the Dragon. It's his first big budget movie. You just dream about where he could have gone if he had stayed alive and all the crazy stuff he could have done. More movies like that, more big budget, big cast. So he's amazing in that, and he's just the coolest ever. And that's one of my favorite movies too. And also Ellen Ripley from Aliens and all that. I saw Aliens first, part 2. I loved her in that. I loved how haunted she was in the beginning and how tough she got through the whole movie. And then a little bit later, I saw Alien, the first one, and she's just another member of the crew. They're all just a bunch of smart asses. They're all you don't really have much reason to root for anybody in this movie in the beginning, at least. And you think if anybody's going to do anything effective, it's going to be Dallas, the captain, because he's in charge. But then he bites it. So you're like, well, who the hell's going to live through this movie? And you can't figure it out, or you don't even know if anybody will. And it ends up being her because she's smart and because she's lucky and all that. And so to see her go through her arc in all the movies, even part 3, which had all these studio things, politics behind the scenes, and David Fincher's movie got kind of taken out of his hands, but I didn't know any of that when I saw the movie. So I loved it. I love part 3. I love how, she makes this ultimate sacrifice and everything. And I love the doom and gloom of part 3. So I love Ellen Ripley. I love Sigourney Weaver. Definitely one of the best movie heroes ever.
It's funny. We're a family and everything. So it's not that surprising that, 2 of our picks for heroes are the same.
Nice.
So I'll do the one that wasn't the same first, and then talk a little bit more.
Off your homework, Steve.
He might have been looking over my shoulder. I don't know. I have to keep an eye on him.
Copied off your homework.
The pick for a hero, Doc Holliday from Tombstone, played by Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Absolutely one of the best characters in any film. Written so good, acted even better. And now, how many quotable lines does Tombstone have? And then how many of them are Doc Holliday's? Most of them.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, he just brought every bit of vibe and sincerity and just talent to that role. So that's why Doc Holliday, to me, is one of my top picks. And then Luke Skywalker, obvious reasons. The focal point of the whole trilogy, the whole original trilogy. One of the best good guys. You wanted to be him for Halloween, and you wanted to have a lightsaber, and you wanted to reenact a lot of the scenes, like especially on Jabba's sail barge when he jumps off, grabs the plank with one hand, springs back up. Man, I don't know how many times I reenacted that off my bed.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes ever.
Yeah. And then Ripley from Alien, great character. You're right, unassuming. When you first see Alien, there's nothing about anybody that stands out in particular where you think this person's going to be the one that saves the day or survives or whatever. You just have to let it unfold and see what happens, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then you roll with it. Then you see how she kind of takes over on the rest of the films. And another cool tidbit about Aliens is that there's a deleted scene where Ripley briefly talks to her daughter who is now older than she is because of the hypersleep travel and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it really helps illustrate the weight of Ripley's like kind of inner turmoil and missing her family and missing out and the sadness of all that that you can imagine. You miss your kid's life mostly. I really wish they would have left that in the film. A lot of times I agree with the edit.
Yeah.
But that's one where I think that one would have added a lot of weight and cool texture. So if I can find that on YouTube, I'll link it in our show notes so you can check it out, because I think most people would enjoy kind of seeing that other angle that really doesn't get talked about with Ripley, but you kind of feel something, is under the surface, and this is part of the reason why, for sure.
For the bad guys, I have one really obvious one, Darth Vader, of course. I would say he's the best bad guy in movie history, maybe.
Probably much.
Yes. He looks cool. He's got all black. He's got the mask on. He's got the red lightsaber. It's the first red lightsaber anyone had ever seen. He's choking his own people through the whole,
Yes, he is.
He's the coolest, and he goes through a hell of a character arc too. And you can see, how tough he is until he actually has time to sit there and talk with his son without them trying to kill each other for a minute. As soon as Luke starts working on him and saying, there's good in you, I can feel it. He's like, no, don't even try that shit, because it's going to work. So don't do it.
Because it's going to work. Yeah.
The cracks in his armor, and that's the last thing you expected. If you're seeing that movie for the first time, if you're a kid, you're 8 years old or whatever, 10, whatever it is, and you're like, wait a minute, where's this going? If you think about the first time anybody saw those movies, they did not know that this was going to have any kind of redemption, anything like that, and so that was really cool where that goes. Anyway, I would say Daniel Plainview, Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood, who he's the protagonist of the movie. He's the main character, and he's the one we're rooting for, but he's a bad guy. And so we're rooting for this villain. And that's, it's this great manipulation by Paul Thomas Anderson and by Daniel Day-Lewis to manipulate the audience into like actually wanting this bad guy to succeed, like this scumbag who treats his son like crap and treats everyone he meets like crap, and he kills people, and he's horrible, but you want him to get away with it. You want him to do it. So,
yeah. Not to mention Johnny Greenwood's so left of center score that soaked that movie with another unsettling vibe of kind of weirdness that helped push all that. So definitely.
Yeah. And also the best mustache in movie history.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Burt Reynolds is up there, but I think Daniel Plainview's mustache is the best.
I don't know, man.
And also the Tombstone guys all brought it too, for sure.
They're up. Yeah, for sure. And then Roy Batty from Blade Runner, who is, as a kid, probably was the first sympathetic bad guy I ever saw before I even really knew what that was, where I'm watching this guy and I'm going, this guy has a good point. I mean, he wants to live. He wants freedom. He doesn't want to be a slave. He wants more than a 4-year lifespan. These are reasonable things. No. Anytime you enslave a people, they're going to want to be free, and they're going to fucking fight for it. So,
super solid pick.
Yeah, these replicants, they have a real good case for what they're doing on Earth. So yeah, I love Rutger Hauer. I love the look, the bleached blonde hair, and how intimidating he is, and and that's my favorite movie of all time too, Blade Runner. So yeah, there you go, Roy Batty.
Dig it, man. That was a very solid picks for sure. And believe it or not, we have no doubles on bad guys.
Oh, sweet.
That's right. For me, General Zod, played by Terrence Stamp in the original 80s Christopher Reeve starring Superman movies. He was the best, man. Your definite like archetypal bad guy, but mixed with a little bit of humor here and there, which is great. Like when when the president kneels and he says, "Oh God," and Zod says, "No, Zod." He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'll follow that up by Colonel Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. Super awesome job. He was such a son of a bitch, but you sure dug it. Then the third one, a little bit of a more obscure film called Let the Right One In. So I'm picking Ellie is the vampire girl, the child vampire in that film. And that film really has a unique vibe and aura to it to me. It's like a love horror or romance horror film. It's these kids with these kind of this innocence and tenderness, and this vampire, Ellie, is trying to find like a new handler or familiar, if you want to call it, that a lot of vampires in the stories have. So she's trying to find a new one, and she picks this kid who they're about the same age, but not really, because the vampire probably is 200 years old or whatever. I'm sure they say in the film. I can't remember. But really cool story, really cool take. And she's really sinister when need be. But the exact opposite at other points in the story. So really, really cool. And there was an American remake that Matt Reeves directed called Let Me In, which was not bad at all. They did a good job on remaking that. But I'm definitely a fan of the original Let the Right One In film for sure.
It's a good remake, but no, the original's better, of course. Matt Reeves hasn't made a bad movie. I mean, from the Batman to Let Me In to the Planet of the Apes movies, all of this stuff has been good or great,
Right.
The original, the kids look a little more realistic. They're just plain, like, I don't know, like
they're just some plain Scandinavian kids, man. What?
Right.
They're more
So
believable. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They don't look Hollywood, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
They totally look like they could be kids living in an apartment like that, So
Yeah, very realistic, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that almost does it for this episode of V3Cast. Let's recap it real quick. We talked about our love and admiration for the great actor Kurt Russell, who just celebrated his 71st birthday. We talked about some of the films that we love that he's been in, and we talked about some Voyager 3 news and some of the upcoming convention appearances that we're going to be at. And then we finished it up with our top 3 movie villains and movie heroes. You know what? The next V3Cast is going to be episode number 10. Can you believe it, fellas?
Awesome.
Can't believe 10 already. It's going to be 10. That's amazing. We have to do something special for that episode.
Big, something very big.
Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. This has been V3Cast, the Voyager 3 podcast. We'll see everybody on the next one. Take it easy.